up, Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey.
Are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to Bitcoin!
That's a nickname in its own way, but we came up with a new couple of words for corn.
Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Up, 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 don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up.
Can you quickly tell everybody what a rug pull is?
Bitcoin stands for freedom, sovereignty, and independence from government, coercion, and control.
Yo! Shadalay, fellow frogs. GMoney is back on this lovely February 12th, 2026. And so let's just get the party started, guys. Let's just get the party started. Let's dim the lights a little bit. And let's, I got to comment on this because it's been bugging me. The whole Super Bowl, like, triggering of MAGA was just, like, pretty freaking hilarious, right? Like, MAGA is basically running around a dark room and doesn't, like, know where the edges are, or the corners, or, like, what's hanging. And they're just running into things because they have no direction, like, literally no direction. And so they're just like these lefty snowflakes that are getting just triggered about everything. Why hasn't Trump done this? Oh my God, do you see what happened? Like, they're a bunch of Karens. MAGA has turned into Karen, like Karenville. And the first Karen bitch ass I'm going to bring up is Mr. Cheeto Face himself. So let's hear this Mr. Cheeto Face get all triggered by the Super Bowl.
Bad Bunny then comes on during halftime. And if you don't speak Spanish, which I don't, you had to go back and read the lyrics of what was being said. If I do speak Spanish, I would be writing the FCC if I had children in the room. But these are the lyrics that supposedly were said so that your panties get wet, get horny.
These are the lyrics. If you speak Spanish, like, Boomer, go jump off a cliff and do something else. Seriously, like, Glenn Beck is an old fossil that wouldn't know truth or this movement if it hit him in the freaking head. Okay. And so you've got one side of MAGA calling for censorship. I mean, there's even this congressman here, Congressman Randy Fine. You can't say the F word on live TV. Bad Bunny's disgusting. It was illegal. He said these lyrics and all the other disgusting and pornographic filth in English. And so, like, shut the fuck up. You guys are so, like, just out of touch. And look, I love Kid Rock, right? I love Kid Rock for a long time, but Bad Bunny's performance wasn't bad. The girls were shaking their butts, like, whatever, right? Maybe some of these MAGA guys are just gay. They didn't like to see women shaking their asses. I don't know. And then you have, like, the other half of MAGA who's, like, basically just giving up. They're kind of just like, there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing we can do. So here's Emily Saves America, who we should rename to Emily Gives Up.
I think I can safely say I've reached the final tier of, like, the red pilling process, where it's like, I'm at the clear pill. I'm at the retard pill. Because I have all this information, and there's like, it doesn't matter how much you know, because there's nothing you can do about it. So it's like, dude, everything is fucking fake. Our presidents are literally chosen for us. Our elections are fucking rigged and literally don't matter anymore. Jeffrey Epstein somehow won the Powerball twice. The fucking lottery's fake. The Rothschilds wrote all the fucking books. Our history is fucking a complete fucking lie, the deeper you get into that. Everyone they said was evil and fucking crazy actually kind of, I think, had some fucking points. And then all the people that have been accusing people of doing evil shit were the most evil fucking people the whole time. So you know what? Just fucking log off. Who cares? Just go enjoy your life. There's nothing's gonna happen to these people. They're just fucking with us at this point. Both sides are fucking
Nothing you can do, guys. Emily Saves America has completely given up hope. There's nothing you can do. Voting is gay, right? Everything is fake and gay, and there's nothing you can do. Right? Talk about doomer, black pill, even for Gen Z, Gen Alpha, whatever the hell she is. And so I'm just kind of sitting back and watching the MAGA boomers completely lose their minds over a guy named Bad Bunny. Right? Like, they want to be so angry about something because Trump isn't doing what they said he was going to do. All the Epstein files are going all over the place. No one's getting arrested, so they have to get angry at something. And instead of actually attacking the root cause of all this, it's like, why am I paying taxes to these people? They're going to go attack, like, something on TV. And it's just, I mean, football itself is a humiliation ritual, right? You got these guys in tights smacking each other's asses, and, it's all bread and circus, and people are raging over a team to win. That means absolutely nothing. And they've got a guy, right, named Bad Bunny. That's, I guess he's trans friendly or whatever. I don't, who cares, right? I didn't pay attention to that. All I know is that I had a party at my house and the girls were dancing to Bad Bunny. Okay. That's it. Right. Nobody's dancing to Kid Rock. In the story. And so it just cracks me up because MAGA is turning into a bunch of retards, a bunch of little Karens. And the other ones are just getting angrier and angrier, and they have no idea what to do. And so, what do? Well, like, why don't you find out, like, how you can empower yourself instead of getting angry at somebody else, instead of wasting your energy and your emotions on all this other bullshit. Find out how you can make a difference for yourself by studying something that empowers you, the individual, right? And that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Bitcoin, the only thing that can actually empower you as an individual. And so, figure it out, bro. Figure it out. But anyways, let's keep it rolling here. Go ahead and give us a like. Throw us a shade of lay in the comments below. And, we do have gear coming up. Again, we are in the 250th year of 1776. And so I want to see all the frogs in Vegas with their digital 1776 gear. So go to 1776.love. If you have not got a ticket for Bitcoin Vegas, come join us. Use code Pepe for 10% off. And let's cut to a couple commercials real quick.
This lightly. This lotion changes people.
My knuckles would actually start to crack. Started using the soft disclosure lotion, and I am very impressed. Even within just a few days, I've noticed a tremendous difference.
That's not a script. That's what happens when something actually works.
It puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Yeah, that line keeps coming up because when you don't use it, your skin starts acting up.
Every single ingredient in soft disclosure is intentionally chosen. There's no filler ingredients. It is not like this BS product where they have a bunch of ingredients. Every ingredient listed is for a purpose.
Over 65-star reviews for the lotion alone. Not influencers, not actors, just people whose skin finally shut up. Soft disclosure lotion. Once you try it, you'll understand why people won't stop talking about it. Visit softdisclosure.com and use code Badlands and get 10% off.
We've got River. Stack Sats with River, the Bitcoin-only platform built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. Why River? Zero free reoccurring buys. Stack Bitcoin effortlessly, hourly, daily, weekly, or monthly. 3.5% Bitcoin interest on cash. FDIC insured. No minimums. Withdraw anytime. Expert US-based support. Human help plus private client services for big buys. Think like 100K plus. Business accounts. Boost your balance sheet with Bitcoin and earn 3.5% paid in Bitcoin. Top tier wallet support. Send, receive, and manage Bitcoin securely, including Bitcoin Lightning. Unmatched security. Full reserve custody. Multi-sig cold storage and proof of reserves. Join the Bitcoin revolution at badlandsmedia.tv/river and earn real returns. That's badlandsmedia.tv/river. Boom. Go get a River account if you guys do not have one. Bitcoin only. And my favorite place to actually stack sats. All right. So we are going to get into the next part of this, which is our Dasting Dig, which is, if you guys are not following this gentleman, go on X. It's JTEVELOW. And so we're going to bring Jesse up on stage here and give a little shade of lay to him. Jesse, welcome to Rugpull Radio, my friend. Shade of lay.
Hey, how's it going there, man? How are you doing? I just finished dinner. Do I have some in my teeth? Hopefully not.
No,
I didn't know I thought this was going to be an X space. So
no way.
Okay. I was rushing to get ready, but I made it. I made it. It's
all good.
7:40 here in LA. I'm not sure where you're at, but happy to be here, brother. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. So anyways, I kind of noticed you a while back. You kind of came out big for Samurai and did a bunch to help Keone and them really push that story. And so props to you. And you also have a book coming out, and I want to kind of, talk about some of the stuff because it's super interesting and in some of the stuff you talk about. But let's start at the beginning. Give us like your, 40,000 foot view, how you got into Bitcoin, how you became a psychotic Bitcoin maximalist. Give us a rundown, bro. Like, give us your story, man. How'd it happen for you?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Once again, thanks for having me on. And, it's been a wild ride. I'm sure, everybody who's been in Bitcoin for as long as I have is going to have some kind of roller coaster story. So here's mine. I've been in the space since 2014, 2015. Bought my first coins around a couple $1,000 right as sort of Ethereum was coming out. I remember Ethereum, all my friends were telling me Ethereum was $20 and it was going to be the next big thing. So I got some of that, got very excited. I was I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. That's what I've done my entire career for the last 20 plus years at this point. I've started companies. I've helped other startups go from 0 to 1. I've raised a bunch of money for companies. And, back in 2014, 15, 16 era, I started working with blockchain and DLT, distributed ledger technology companies. I was going all over Asia. I was in all the, penthouse suites with all the other crazy founders and companies at that time. millions of dollars made and lost, like that, no regulation, absolute craziness. Was in Asia a lot, traveling a lot, Puerto Rico. And it was crazy, man. It was wild times. It was the Wild West back then. And I kind of did everything under the sun between, let's go to like the ICO craze. Let's go to 2018, 2019. I started launching some of my own products. I launched an NFT, I think in 21. I launched a token in 24. So I've kind of done it everything, right? I call it my 10-year awakening. And that's actually the first part of my book, which is called Life After Bitcoin. And it's that journey. I think a lot of us shitcoin before we Bitcoin. It's kind of natural, I think, especially for entrepreneurs, which I am. So it's been crazy. It's been fun. A lot of mistakes, a lot of wins, a lot of just chaos, really. And I'd say about a year ago is when it really started to click for me that I wanted to focus on Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin was different, and that Bitcoin was maybe the thing that I should have been paying attention to for the past 10 years instead of fiddling with everything else. And so, I started coming on X Spaces. X was getting a lot bigger at that point. Kind of around like the 2024 election was like when I started. There were some political elements that were happening there that I think also related to Bitcoin and sort of the ethos of Bitcoin. I sort of started making I'm not very political, but I started making some political moves at that time because I felt that we were in danger. I felt that the world was in danger, mainly because of fiat, right? Because of fake money. And so Bitcoin's real money, fiat's fake money. And, we can get into all the details of that or go whatever kind of offshoots you want to go. But it's gotten very spiritual for me, Bitcoin, as it does for many folks. And at this point in my life, it's a core focus. It's literally how I live my life. You've probably heard me, GMoney, my tagline, I say, protect your time, protect your health, protect your Bitcoin. Yeah. That's it. So that's how I live. And, my book is meant to be a hypothetical sort of my theory for a hypothetical future that I believe if we marry these two technologies that we have right now, AI and Bitcoin, if we marry those two paradigm shifting technologies, I believe that the human race is going to go into the next golden age. I believe it's going to be the second renaissance, potentially hundreds, maybe thousands of years. But if we get it wrong and we're not intentional about it, I think we could go extinct. We could be extinct within 100 years. So pivotal time in human history. And once again, pleasure to be here. So that kind of wraps it up for my story.
Yeah, man. Well, there's another optimist here at the table. I feel like both sides of Bitcoiners and political folks are just everybody's in the dumps, dooming and blackpilling. And so tell us a little bit about your political thing, if you can, if you want to. Like, were you like a libertarian? Were you a former like liberal? Did some of this, like some of the red pills make you go MAGA? Where were you at there?
So yes, so this is a touchy subject, as it is for many people. I don't speak very often about politics. I don't consider myself very political, but I will peel back the curtain since you already pulled it back. So yes, it was, I come from a very liberal background, extremely liberal. So pretty much all the way left. Okay. And, it was, so if you grow up like that, as many people do, and because of the way our system works, it's you're this or you're that, you're red or you're blue, you're in or you're out, you're right or you're wrong. And when you go to the other side, if you're in a liberal environment, the people that you're around don't like that. So without going into too much detail, my entire life kind of got flipped upside down. I got rejected by most of my family, friends, pretty much everybody around me, in dramatic fashion. And so, that was eye-opening for me. It still is to this day. I think we still grapple with that as our entire world right now is grappling with, not just the United States, but just the world on like, what are our belief systems? What are the ideologies that we want to follow? What do we care about? What do we not care about? And I've always been a truth seeker, kind of an individual person. I like to go my own, beat my own drum, walk my own path. And I think a lot of Bitcoiners will probably relate to me with this kind of a story. Like there's often strife that happens in our personal lives when we're figuring out the truth, because the truth hurts, right? That's an expression for a reason. It's difficult. It's very difficult to walk that path and to stay, to not veer off back to the easy thing, which is to just ignore everything, turn the other cheek, forget about it. It's uncomfortable. For whatever reason, I can't do that. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Many Bitcoiners feel the same way. And so that's been sort of, that's about as far as I'm going to peel back the curtain on it, but it's been eye-opening. It's, it's tested me. It has tested me. I'll put it that way. And I'm proud of myself for sort of standing up for what I believe in. And, my whole world over the last 12 months, 16 months has changed. And I feel like a more real person. I feel like I actually am myself. And a lot of us talk about, Bitcoiners, we talk about the matrix. You feel like you've been living in the matrix. And it's like, finally, I've stepped out of the matrix. I can see through the matrix. I can see the code and see the blonde and the brunette and the redhead, if you're familiar with the movie. And
Absolutely.
It's like you can start to see through the noise. So it's very interesting, because whether it's just on a personal level with your family, your friends, your coworkers, whoever, your colleagues, or if it's on like, the world stage, when you start looking at geopolitical, stuff, or you're watching, Pam Bondi, yapping like a freaking clown, you can just cut through the noise. So
yeah,
I feel good. I feel strong. Even though sort of like we're in the fourth turning, my personal life's been in turmoil. Like the macro sort of conditions are very, like you said, there's a lot of like black pilling and FUD and all this stuff. But man, if you're a Bitcoiner and you like understand it and you've been through some stuff, like for me, it just makes me stronger. And so that's kind of like where I am now. I feel pretty invincible.
That's awesome, man. And congrats. Like that's not an easy road. I've had similar experiences where, you try to talk to people about politics. It doesn't work. But Bitcoin's actually helped me red pill some folks to where the orange pill actually helped them see through the politics, right? And even us on the MAGA side, conservative side, so to call it, like our side isn't, the politics is just a divisionary tactic. Now, just because Trump is on the right and he's been put in this special position to do these things, I think is unique. But even him, I think, is destroying the Republican Party as we know it. Because the parties themselves are corrupted proof of stake networks that just exploit people and to get them to fight with each other. And so once you fully came to that realization, like you realize the politics are all bullshit anyway. So it's like, why we're in fighting over this stuff? You're like, hey guys, like forget about it. Like let's talk about what really matters, which is the money and the taxes and the entire system that both parties basically suck the life out of every one of us together. And so really that's really what this fight is about, in my opinion. And so, yeah, kudos to you for fighting through that, especially in Los Angeles, especially with the peer pressure of friends and family. Like that's extra hard. For me, it was more like I was the conspiracy guy. Like, hey, we're kind of conservative, but you're fucking crazy, which is kind of a similar experience.
Mine was like, whoa, you're not you anymore. And we can no longer speak to you. And we're going to say all these names, really bad names.
Oh God.
And
man,
we're just going to
terrible.
stop. We're just going to stop talking. Like we're not going to be human anymore. We're just going to start barking. And yeah, man, it's wild. And it really shows you just how deep this stuff goes. And these are, honestly, I don't think like it's not their fault. It's like this is generations of lies that have just been battered into us, and like it's like you can't even remember what reality actually is for some of these folks. And I think it's sad, I will see what happens. I think the world's coming around, and we can talk about the fourth turning, but I think that I feel the shift, my friend Bram, if you know him, Canstein, I think him and I are going to be doing some stuff at BTC Prague, but he just put out a great article about this, about the pendulum swinging. And it just feels like the pendulum is finally swinging back. So,
Yeah. The layers of propaganda goes deep. It's so, and it's funny because when you start to talk to these people, they'll just regurgitate what like the fake news told them. And so you're like, you don't even realize like the propaganda you're spitting back out at me is what you just listened to on the news. And so, what's great about Bitcoin though, it cuts through all of it, because at the end of the day, that's truly what the mission is. But it's a unique perspective. I did not know that. And so, it's cool to hear stories where people get to break free because Bitcoin really is your North Star. Because when you are difficult, you need kind of a rock to realize you're not crazy in a sense. And 100%. Bitcoin really, I think, helps people latch on to as kind of that North Star of the ultimate truth. So, like the direction you're heading is still correct. And even though you're kind of wandering in the dark, you can kind of see the light out there in the distance, right? But your path may not be direct, but still, right? It's a way to get there. And so, no, definitely very cool.
I wrote an article real quick. I wrote an article called the light that shines through us. And I wrote that before I was a Bitcoiner. I wrote it many years ago. And it's like, I read it again. It's actually, it is reprinted in my book. I don't feel lost anymore. It is the North Star. Bitcoin is the light. Bitcoin is truth. I fully subscribe to that. And I will, I'll die on that hill. I'll debate that with anybody. There is nothing else that is predicated on truth, that has the power to actually bring us into this golden age. Bitcoin is the only thing. There's nothing else.
It's the only thing. And so your book, you guys, is called Life After Bitcoin. And you notice down here, it's got BCE, AD, and AB, which clearly stands for, after Bitcoin. And I don't know about the religious people. Some people say it's blasphemous, but it's truly the ultimate truth. We like to trigger Christians. We trigger everybody, Jesse. Don't feel bad. But
I've had people saying you got to change it to BC, not BCE. I don't know. It's not printed yet, but I'm just trying to make a point, guys. Okay. Like I have no problem with religion, but it's just sort of like my point this is a point in history. This is a point on the timeline of humanity. You can use whatever acronym, little letters you want, but my point is that there is going to be a before Bitcoin and an after Bitcoin. There's before 2009 and there's after 2009.
Well, absolutely right. You're 100% correct. And the evangelicals that get triggered, well, you guys are just not far enough in your journey to truly understand that, Bitcoin is digital Jesus, right? It is the second coming of the Prince of Peace. They just don't realize it yet.
Here's a way to make everybody happy, right? Like Bitcoin could be Jesus. Okay. Like, I don't know, like, but it's like, I have no problem with Jesus. Like, it's just sort of like, wow, Bitcoin is something big here. And maybe that is Jesus or whatever, but whatever you want to call it, like, this is it, guys. Like, this is the only truth that we've ever had. And, yes, it's predicated on math and there's energy and there's like physics, and maybe that doesn't sound religious, but that's why I like to talk about the spiritual side too, because it transcends everything. It can transcend your faith, your religion, your belief systems. And yes, we can talk about math and spirituality in the same breath. I think that's fine. So very interesting times, man, because I think all these definitions, the way we live our lives and what we think is our belief system is now called into question by this invention, that we've got because of Satoshi.
Yeah, man, it's so, and I love these conversations, by the way, because these are my favorite. Like, I love talking about the future. I've always been like a futuristic guy. And so life after Bitcoin is truly about, guys, like, once Bitcoin becomes the thing, right? And its dominance is basically, laid, maybe Jesse, walk us through like your vision of the golden age, right? Like what's going to happen, you think, once Bitcoin becomes like the most valuable thing in the world, maybe Bitcoin, maybe at $1 million a coin or $2 million a coin, whatever that is. And people realize like, holy shit, like we totally missed this. This is the real thing. And you have in the background, robots being made, you've got Starship being made, you've got AI, handling all your daily tasks. What does that world look like for people? Because people doom out on like, well, no one's going to have a job and they're not going to know what to do with themselves. And like almost every golden age thing that I've heard has always been a black pill. Like no one's been like happy about it. And so I'm excited about this conversation because I'm excited about this future. I think you're excited about it too. And that's why like, I want to like know where your brain goes with this stuff on like what that future looks like.
Sure. So first of all, let me just be clear. I have no idea what's going to happen. Okay. So these are thought experiments, and nobody knows what's going to happen. That being said, I think about this all the time, and there are ways to look at the past to get a better idea of what could potentially be the outcome in the future. Okay. And so that's all I'm doing. I've done it for my entire career, which is why I've been very successful with startups and sort of being on the bleeding edge of things, because I see trends. Like if you're really good, like the best investors, the best founders, the best creators and builders, people like Elon and Jack, and Jack Mallers, Jack Dorsey, they can see the trends and they can kind of see the future. And so they're building into the future. Another thing I like to say is that the future is happening now. You just have to know where to look. And by that, what I mean is, you can go into, the deepest parts of, little pockets of Africa, and there are going to be tribes in there that aren't using technology at all. We could say, they're kind of in the past, right? And by the same token, you can go somewhere, you can hang out with me or you, and we're going to be messing around with AI, and we're kind of living in the future, right? And so everybody's on a different timeline. But if you kind of look toward the trends and the people that are doing this stuff already, you can kind of see that trajectory. And so, and then another interesting thing is to just study history. You'll find it's fascinating, because you'll find the more you look at history, you just see that it's just a circle. It's just a wheel that's turning, and it's a cycle. And it's almost like laughable, because it's like we just don't realize it. Humans are so caught up in their high time preference, what's happening today, tomorrow, that we don't stop and just look back and go, what happened for the last 100 years, 500 years, 1,000 years, and just start to try to see, okay, this can give us some clues with what to do. But we just don't do it for whatever reason. Most people just don't do that. So with all that being said, excuse me, there's a lot of evidence that points to these cycles of, empires getting built and money, being used to try to sort of modernize and sort of expand the empire, control the empire, more land, more people. How do we organize it? We use money. And then there's the same pattern every time of the people at the top get too much power. They're the ones creating the currency. So then they can start to do things to debase the currency. They can clip little bits of the coins off. They can make more. They can just kind of mess with it to the point where the people, the world, anyone in that civilization, their life starts to decay.
Yeah,
it happens every time.
Every time.
And here we are, and we think, oh, here we are in the United States. I'm assuming are you in the U.S.?
I'm in Southern California, actually. So we're neighbors.
Oh, we're neighbors. But most people, that I knew growing up, and just Americans, and like, the 80s and 90s, and we're just like, we're the best, and America is it, and we're gonna be the world power, and like, this is where we were born into like the coolest place, and how lucky are we? And man, let me tell you something. You are on this planet for long enough, and everything changes. Nothing stays the same. I'm in my 40s now, and I've seen this, this past quarter of a century, from, let's call it just the 2000 to now. I mean, my God, we could list out all the things, right? Starting with just, 9/11 that happened right there in 2001, all the way up to more present day with COVID, and now all this other stuff happening in the recent months of, Epstein and all this stuff. And you can start to put the pieces together, and you just go, wow, we're doing it again. We're debasing the money. There's inflation. It's rampant. It's running wild. There are no checks and balances. There are no backstops. And, you mentioned Samurai and Keone, like there's like this rogue DOJ right now is like throwing people in jail for no reason. Like, I mean, it's just completely out of control. We've got like, people like killing and eating babies and stuff. And it's like, it's literally insane. So what happens? Well, it all crumbles. It all dies. It all just, it explodes, and then we restart and we go again. And there's a book called The Fourth Turning, how in Strauss, and they talk about these cycles. It's about every 80 to 100 years, about the average lifetime of a human being, that we see these patterns happening. And we are in that phase right now, the fourth turning. It's the final inning, or the last quarter of the game, which is when everything crumbles. And then you get this sort of rebirth, the rise of the phoenix out of the ashes, which I think they call the high, I think is the first turning. And then it's, I think, the awakening, and there's so it basically, it gets good, right? It gets good after all the bad, right? Because it's a circle, it's a cycle. So if you follow that system and you follow that trajectory, what's going to happen? Well, we're gonna crumble and fall and explode, and it's going to be horrible. There's going to be bloodshed. There's going to be people that lose their lives. There's going to be people that lose all their worth. There's going to be people that, it's we're in that now. It's very difficult. But if you can just sort of hold on, then we have the next phase, which that's, to me, the golden age. And so, to answer your question a little bit more directly on what do I think is going to happen. So I have this saying that the path to unity is infinite fragmentation. And when I say that, I mean the way for us to elevate, the way for us to evolve, the way for us to all be happy is to stop trying to convince everybody to be like us. We need to fragment. We need to all go our own ways. We need to believe what we want to believe, do what we want to do, live where we want to live, act how we want to act. We can't have a big brother central system that's telling everybody how to do everything. That does not work. There is no unity in that. That is the misconception that humans fall into. That's the trap every single time. We have to all have one ruler, one system, one this, that. No, we need to be fragmented. Now, we still need something to unify us, to allow us to interact, to build, to grow, to have commerce, to be modern, to have a modern civilization. The way to do that is you have to have money, okay? And so the problem with the other cycles in the past is that the money wasn't real money. We've never had real money, ever. That's what people don't understand. There has never been real money. We have been interacting with fake money. Real money was created in 2009, and it's just starting to catch on, and that's Bitcoin. It's energy money. I like Samson Mao was saying, using that phrase, energy money, because it's just energy units, and energy units, the way that Satoshi has engineered the system, they're tracked, they're captured, and they're immutable. So they're there, they're measurable. It's the only measuring stick with no entropy, which is the key. There's zero entropy. This is money. It allows you to capture value and then take that value across space and time with zero entropy. What does that look like? That brings us to the golden age, which is a decentralized, fragmented system where governments, big brother, massive federal level, global level control systems die off. They don't work. Why? Because Bitcoin allows bottom up. You can't stop it. I have my Bitcoin in self-custody. Nobody can take it. You have your Bitcoin in self-custody. Nobody can take it. There's enough of us now that hold this thing, that have some Bitcoins. We have this energy money. We can do whatever the fuck we want with it. No government, no king, no monarch, no leader can fuck with us. They just can't. So I see a world where eventually, after all the bickering and the fighting and the bloodshed and the arguments, I see localized future, much more localized, smaller communities, back to tribes, little villages, little towns. I mean, these might be towns of 5,000 people, 10,000 people, 50,000, 100,000, and there'll be big ones and small ones, but they're all going to work because they're all going to be interoperable with each other. Mm-hmm. So I'll have my rules over here with my little community of 5,000, and you have your rules with your community over here of 50,000. And it doesn't really matter how big or small or what we're actually using within our communities, because the underlying money will be Bitcoin for everybody. So that's the settlement layer, that's the value layer, that's the truth layer. And then that actually brings me to the other piece of the puzzle in my book, which is AI. How does AI interact with all of this? Well, if you imagine a world where there's all kinds of fake money and robots are using fake money and tricking us and lying to us, we're fucked. Not going to work.
Yeah.
And this is a big conversation happening around X, like right now. People are finally, I'm glad, because I've been thinking about this forever, but like it's finally coming now out into the open, where it's like the machines have to use Bitcoin. And it's already,
they're not gonna want to use fake money.
Why would they? It's fake. It doesn't work. It's bullshit. It's toilet paper. The machines
are smart enough.
They are. They're smarter than us already, and they know, which is very interesting. The Malt Book experiment, you're seeing that a lot, where the agentic AI is talking to each other, and they're saying, yeah, it's going to be Bitcoin. So that's already the writing on the wall. It's already there. Like, it's so obvious to people like me that are in it all the time, but it's just now starting to come out. So that kind of paints the picture, I hope, where it's like localized, smaller, like Big Brother goes away. Like, yeah, they're going to try to hold on. Like, there will be federal forces. There will be, like Europe and the CBDCs and our Genius Act and all of our stable coin, like that's going to be going on for like 10, 20, 30 years. But at the same time, you're going to have Bitcoin citadels. You're going to have Bitcoin communities that are cropping up. And eventually, like, we're just going to take market share, just like Chrome took market share from Internet Explorer, because Internet Explorer sucked and Chrome was better. Like, it's inevitable. And that gets into kind of like incentives, game theory, sort of the force and the sort of the gravity of Bitcoin. And again, I have no idea how this really looks in detail or like how long it takes. But if you kind of look at the patterns, it's fairly obvious to me that we either, again, we get this right and we have this kind of outcome, or we just kind of like let the AI do whatever. We don't use Bitcoin and we all die like pretty quick.
I love that, dude. That's quite a couple comments there, because that was quite a lot that you threw out there. And so a couple things, right? I think the first one is, I think obviously the system knows that Bitcoin is a threat to them. And so what we're going to see from these centralized control systems is they're going to try to centralize more to defeat this thing, which, they can't. And so I think you're right. We're going to kind of get to this tipping point where, the super corrupt, right, New World Order guys that wanted to control everything are just going to try and grab as much power as they can before they ultimately, blow up and run out of, out of energy to do that, right? Because the more they print over time, the less effective that printing gets. And so who's going to work for something that can be printed at some point, right?
Big prints coming,
like literally nobody. And so the power will be back to the people. But then, on the other side of that, we have to realize that Bitcoin is a weapon system, and that even though nobody can take it from us, our voluntary compliance to these corrupt individuals via, like in the Netherlands, I think the Congress there just passed an unrealized capital gains on Bitcoin, okay? Which means individuals would be handing over energy to a corrupt institution for doing nothing just because someone's Bitcoin price went up without even selling it, mind you. Okay, so this is coming. And that's why we keep talking about this, about the taxation angle, because like it's not enough just to hold Bitcoin. You have to actually tell people you can't have my Bitcoin too, right? Like
you have to if you want to fight this, like you said, it's a weapon, right? The way you do that, it can be a non-violent form of assault, weaponry, which is self-custody of your Bitcoin. And you do that, and you're holding up, a shield or a sword or whatever that just says nope. And that's the fight, I think, that we can continue to, as long as we continue to do that, they can't stop us.
100%. And the other thing I really like about what you said was the fragmentation or decentralization, right? Like, let people do what they want to do. If there's a community of people that want to cut their dicks off, who am I to stop them? Like, go ahead, man. You know what I mean? And so it's funny because I've had this conversation with someone else on our network, to where they're like, well, if there's a whole community where they're chopping off, their own dicks, and they're doing that to the children, shouldn't we go save them? I'm like, well, should we? Should we take up arms ourselves to go kill another group of people because we don't like what they're doing? And that's honestly, that's an argument, like, to save the children, in a sense. That's a difficult argument, but I kind of side on, like, maybe I won't go do that. You know what I mean? Like, maybe the civilizations will naturally just die off from their stupidity, right? Like, we've never had, and not only that, but the herd that doesn't do that gets stronger over the time. And so what we've had is kind of inferior DNA being propped up through social programs, right? Through abundance of just resources, right? All these different, like, safety nets bad DNA has, and then they procreate, right? And so what we have is a dysfunctional group of people because the government central authorities have propped up these people that don't deserve to be propped up. And that's maybe a little harsh, but that's how Mother Nature works, right?
I'm with you. Yeah, it's just, this is like, you just nailed it. It's social Darwinism is what you're talking about. And what happened is you had an outside force, the government, an evil force, corrupt force, the government in this case, or you could even say, like Simon Dixon talks about it, I think more appropriately, that it's actually above the government. It's whoever the people are. It's more like the banks, like the people with the money, right? We don't even know who the people are. But basically, I mean, we can bet it's Epstein and his cronies and whoever the hell he's talking to. But, they've been basically, like you said, they've been putting a wrench in that social Darwinism and sort of forcing this like secret sort of indoctrination of really bad stuff that's just been seeded into the community for so long now that yes, it caused that problem. Now here's the other side of that coin, pun intended, is Bitcoin flips it. It flips the script, because to me, Bitcoin represents choice. Bitcoin represents optionality. It gives me the choice to opt out of whatever I want and to go just with my, with my energy money, my truth money, And so I think that's going to be the answer to the future, is that this sort of like this world of choice that we're going to be in. And again, this is something that is game theoretical. You can't stop it. I'll give the example of Jack Dorsey. So Jack Dorsey right now is playing the game theory like an expert because he understands it. He knows that he's going to spread Bitcoin by building products that get Bitcoin into people's hands without the need for that corrupt system. I don't know if you caught this, GMoney, but he's just announced this, that he's doing all kinds of stuff with Square now. I think or Cash App, I think, where he's moving in this direction aggressively to where, you can use your Bitcoin in this app and you can kind of transact and you can do anything you need to do without a bank, without a third party, without anyone else, right? So, I think he's taking out fees and transaction fees on anything larger than $2,000. So, people are going to just go, okay, should I go over here where like all my Bitcoin's being taken, or should I use Square and Cash App and stuff? So that brings me back to choice, right? You have this choice all of a sudden. And because you can't turn off Bitcoin and because no one's in charge of Bitcoin, that's the game theory. There is no way for anybody to stop it. They will try to do psyops. They will try to, hypnotize us and say all kinds of crazy stuff. And they'll try to spread fear, uncertainty, and doubt. They're going to tell you, you have to use our CBDC. It's going to be safer. It's going to be more secure. There's going to be people making sure it's good. Bullshit. They don't want you using the freedom money. They don't want you using the real energy units. They want the energy units, and they want you to just listen to whatever the hell they say. So just be aware, like, to the people, I'll look at the camera, like if you're listening to this, like, realize there's those forces that are going to try to trick you. All you got to do is just seek the truth, stack your sats, and chill. And like, you'll be in a power position. You'll be in a position of leverage.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because a lot of the arguments that I see happening today are all based in the old world of like politics and like arguments and like, no, you have to agree with me. And, in reality, like, they're angry about the midterms and like none of that shit matters, right? Like the voting doesn't matter, in my opinion. And so really all these people are trying to do is they're literally stuck in propping up that old system, because I think some of them think like, well, if we fix the money, guys, everything else is just going to fix itself. And like, we should just go back to like voting and paying our taxes to pedophiles. When in fact, no. They're not thinking big enough. That's why I love your thoughts on this, is because like, we won't need governments. We don't need congressmen. We might not even need a president. Maybe we'll go into more of like a monarchy or something, right? Whatever. But like those systems just go away. And so for people to spend their time arguing in those old systems seems like a waste of time to me, right?
Yes. I was trying to like fight the good fight for a while and have these conversations. And you've probably noticed like I've like kind of stepped back because it just starts to become like an energy suck. And I need to, like I say, protect your time, right? Protect your time, health, and Bitcoin. I got to protect my time. So time is the only asset that you never get back. And you don't know when that balance runs out. So I've chosen to sort of not engage in those types of conversations. I will say this. People are struggling, people are dying, people cannot survive in this environment. We like to kind of there's people that will get up on X Spaces or whatever public forum and they'll just say, it's not that bad and like everything's fine and like whatever. It's not. Like people are dying and they can't afford to live to survive. And so like to those people, it's like it matters like to them day to day, right? And so you start to get caught up in that. And that is precisely like the system. That's the high time preference system. That's what Fiat does to you. It makes you think about right now. You can't think about the golden age because there's no fucking way you're going to get there because you can't buy bread today to feed yourself. So you see what I'm saying? Like it's a difficult thing because some people can't get out of that trap because they're literally in it. They're living in it. To whereas like people like us, like at least for now, like we have been fortunate enough to where we can spend some time thinking about this stuff and try to build through the problem. So, we're between a rock and a hard place right now. Most of the world is trying to figure out how to get out from underneath that rock. So that's what creates all these conversations, the FUD, the fear and doubt and all the debates back and forth. But if you can sort of like just step outside of that and just rise above it and look down. I do this exercise where I step outside of myself. I'm looking at myself. My dad taught me this. And you just sort of, you become the third eye of viewing stuff. And if you can do that, then you can kind of get out of your own way. And ironically, it helps you live day to day a lot better. So I have all these sayings, so I'm going to throw another one out there. Big vision, small steps. People get stuck in both of those. So it's like you have to have both. You have to have a big vision and small steps. Sometimes you have to take small steps without the big vision and you just find out you're walking in circles. Other times you're just taking your small steps. You don't have the big vision. So you kind of have to have like both to get there. Even though we're all walking sort of slowly toward that goal, you and I have a better sense of what that big vision is. Whereas a lot of people they can't get there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally agree with that as well. Something I wanted to say too about that was, oh shit, of course I lost my train of thought. Anyways, back to this futuristic talk, because that's really kind of where my mind constantly goes. In this new world of like, holy cow, like how is deflation, right? Because all of our, monetary systems now are built upon a credit system that needs continued inflation. And we're going to go into a very hyper deflationary environment where everything gets cheaper in terms of Bitcoin, right? The other part I was going to say about that was that, like, I believe also, like, we're going through this psyops of extreme pain, exposure, and like reality, right? Like, you were talking about the Pambondi thing. And I think it's funny because everyone's angry about it. I'm sitting here laughing. I'm going like, you can understand that this is literally like scripted. Like she's doing this on purpose, obviously. And it's pissing people off. And you know what? Good. Like you should be a little bit pissed off because this is how they've been treating you your entire life. And now it's finally exposed out in the open. You're literally seeing these people go, hey, there's pedophiles in government. Well, look at the stock market. Like their total like detachment from reality has been this way the entire time. And so I'm actually happy this is happening. Right? Like I'm actually happy the exposure of these clowns, and Pam Bondi could be a good guy or a bad guy, whatever she's doing is waking a lot of people up to be like, oh my God, I really have no power in the system.
Yeah, I call it the Great Distraction. I did a video on this, like a trailer, kind of movie trailer type video on this called The Great Distraction. And yeah, just kind of making this point that it's just all of, a song and dance. It's kabuki theater. Like and it's, to me, it's like, it's become like they're not doing a good job of it. Like the distraction is almost like they've kind of lost it. Like, cause they know like it's like the cat's out of the bag. So they're trying as hard as they can. And that was a perfect example with what's going on with Pam Bondi right now. That's just laughable. It's literally just a clown show where she's like short circuiting. She's like there behind the thing and like people are yelling at her and she just goes S&P 500, the Dow, things are good. It's like, oh my God, like she's not even like a human anymore. She's just like,
here, I'll play the clip real fast. Here, watch this.
I mean, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe.
And so this, of course, was into a question about Epstein and why isn't she doing something? And she totally just, hoodwinks it and goes right for the stock market and everything. But like, it's comical to me because I think it's being done on purpose in a way to upset people. You can call it whatever you will, but like either way, we're right, even if she's not. We're both right that that's a complete clown show. And so what is the individual going to do about that? And that's kind of the next step of this, because like the fever temperature is getting higher and higher. People are getting angry from the Super Bowl to like, I don't know, anything is just triggering everybody. And I think it's bringing some of us, because the problem though with a lot of the conservative bros and other people is in the back of their head, I think all they think about is violence. Like the only way I can get out of this is violence. And you're like, wait a minute. Like you need to be smarter than that, because violence is obviously not going to solve this problem. We're in a 5th generation warfare. You're not going to win the hearts and minds of people by shooting people. And only if there was this other technology that empowered the human being to fight in a more non-kinetic way, what would that look like? And I think what it is, it's pushing all these people to the exit. Not all of them are going to make it, right? I mean, you're not going to have all of them make it, but I think more and more, are probably getting through that filter of like, I'm done.
Yeah. This is the game theory. I'm a huge, I had a game studio, so I built games for many years. So I love incentive structures. You learn a lot about game theory and incentives when you build games, because you want the person to go through level 1 and level 2 and level 3, and you want them to feel the progress. And so you figure out sort of how all that stuff works. The term game theory, I think, is a lot of people get confused by it, and it doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with games. It's really just incentives. It's just about why do people do what they do, and there's very clear incentives sometimes in life, and then there's other times when there's not as clear incentives. But I think what you're seeing now is that game theory, the incentive for people to just jump ship with these things, is starting to get so strong that you're seeing it. And that leads to, the Malcolm Gladwell tipping point, right? Which is that it's slow at first, that we're kind of in that phase right now. They're trickling in, we're orange pilling people, GMoney, you and me, like one by one, we're pulling teeth, we're trying, and it's difficult, but there's only one way for this thing to go, guys. Like they can only print more money. They can't take you're not going to take the dollars back, right? They're going to keep printing, and the S&P is going to continue. The numbers are going to continue to become bloated and inflated. And meanwhile, nobody can buy anything. Gas is too expensive. And Pam Bondi's up there pandering and saying all this bullshit. And it's like, of course, like a certain percentage of people are just going to, throw in the towel. Like, I've had enough, man. This is ridiculous. So I think it's actually going to accelerate, man. I think it's starting to pop. Like it's going to, eventually the frequency is going to pick up in a major way. Like if you study this stuff, the tipping point, it's very hard to get to like 10% penetration on something, but right around 10%, that's the typical kind of tipping point, 10 to 15%. And then it can just shoot up from there, like all the way up to like 70, 80% penetration. So I'm talking about just sort of like adoption of Bitcoin, you know, and this is where Samson Mao talks about Omega candles. And I'm with him. Like, this can happen. Nobody knows, man. Forget the fucking numbers, forget the math, forget the charts. They're all wrong. Yeah. People are going to have their faces melted off.
I love that. And I love that how you brought up the, you know, incentive, the game theory aspect of it, of like, look, after a while, people get tired of playing a game they cannot win, right? Like, if you make it impossible for these people to win and you keep changing the rules, who wants to play your stupid game? Nobody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really all this is. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, and it's, I mean, to me, it's like, I remember as, you know, a young person, you know, in my teens, then into high school and to college, and I'm trying to figure it all out. And, you know, I came from like a relative, like lower middle class, right? So we were like kind of middle class, but just didn't have that much money. So I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I become like a successful guy? How do I make a lot of money on this? And I'm poking around, you know, and this is in like the 90s, you know, and I'm hearing stuff about like the stock market, and rich people do stuff with stocks. And then, you know, you're supposed to buy other stuff. And I remember someone, it might've been like, it might've been Grant. It might've been Grant Cardone, like way back in like 95 or 2000 or something. And he was saying something, I think it was him, about make your money work for you, you know? And it was like, don't hold your money in dollars. You need to be holding your money in other things. And that was so weird to me at the time. I'm this young person. I'm just trying to make a buck. I'm like, what is he talking about? What do you mean? Like, don't you just put your money in the bank like they say, and you earn like 0.1% from the bank and you're good? Like, I had no concept of inflation and the fact that your money was getting debased, and the fact that there were other forms of money, you know, and assets that you could hold things in. And so, you know, the entire world is just so confused about this stuff, myself included as a young person. And I had to do all this work to figure it out. And, you know, even right now, Pam Bondi's just spouting out this bullshit saying, look at the numbers, look at the numbers. The numbers don't mean shit. You're printing money. You're bloating all these companies. None of these companies are providing any more value. You're just, it's literally just it's pump fun. It's pump fun for fucking fiat. So like we have one node, you know, they print it out and they print the fucking dollars and they show you lots of big numbers and pretty graphs. None of it means anything, guys. It's not predicated on anything. It's money out of thin air. It's toilet paper. So we're in clown world, my friend. But
yeah, and it's
you know,
it's crazy too, because, you know, Saylor is almost 5 years ago he bought his first Bitcoin, being on an S&P 500 company, right? A publicly traded company. And we're like 5 years down the road, he's buying weekly, and still you don't see the Nvidias, the Amazons, the Google, the like I never in a million years. I mean, Tesla bought it back in the day, right? Not much anymore. Like, when is that going to happen, you think? Like, what is the holdup? Like, it's absolutely baffling to me that Saylor's just buying Bitcoin for the balance sheet of their company.
You're talking about when are other companies going to buy Bitcoin? Or
yeah, just curious. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting topic. You know, Saylor is such an interesting player in this game because he comes in 2020 and he kind of changes the game. He changes the trajectory of the game because he introduces this new thing basically into the old system. He goes, I see, I'm gonna like insert this thing right into it, and I'm gonna destroy the system by pushing it into that. And a lot of people don't even see that still to this day. There's a lot of like Saylor haters. You know, I don't have any problem with him. I think he's a genius, and he's a financial engineer and a brilliant entrepreneur that figured out that he could do this. He could create this financial engineering based off of the old system and just arb it. It's just an arb. It's just an arbitrage play for him, you know, and he knows that this stuff is going to be so valuable. These energy units, these Bitcoins, he's just hoarding, you know, like anyone else, but he's doing it through the Wall Street fucking circus show game. And he's doing it with this expert sort of performance.
With the house's money too.
with the house's money, right? And nobody can catch him. He understands the game theory. He understands the incentives and the dynamics. And so he's just, I mean, he's going to be one of the most powerful people in the world, just because he figured out this ARB opportunity. And, you know, it's funny because once he had a little bit of a momentum, you know, he's like, okay, well, now at this point, no one's catching me. So then he went out. What did he do? He became the strongest evangelist for this thing. And he tried to convince, I mean, he literally tried to get Microsoft to do it. And remember, that was, I think, the first one.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know, started the whole treasury craze because he knows that's good for him. That's good for business, right? He wants more and more people to come in, but you can see the dilemma, right? Because people like Microsoft, they're like trying to hold on to the past. You know, they don't like, they're trapped and they know they're trapped, right? And Saylor knows they're trapped. These other guys know they're trapped. So like, there's all these copycats. There's all these treasury companies that are trying to do it. So Saylor to me is just sort of like, he's like stoking the fire. He's a brilliant entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurs. Okay. I'm an entrepreneur. There's a lot of people that really get angry at entrepreneurs because we push the envelope. We're on the edge, right? Like Jack Dorsey, Saylor, like we're pushing Elon is probably the best example. Like we push faster than everybody's comfortable, you know, to go. And so, I think Saylor is great. You know, I don't see a problem with him. I could change my mind, you know, if I find out that he's doing some bad shit with bad people, but like, I'm not the kind of guy, like I'm an innocent until proven guilty kind of person. And I also know that people change throughout their lives and there's all kinds of shades of gray, you know, in life. So for me right now, the verdict is I think Saylor's great. I think he's doing a service to the Bitcoin community and to the world. I think anything that increases the velocity of this trajectory is a good thing. The faster we get there, the better. I don't really care how we do that, right? If it's by plugging Bitcoin into the old system and blowing it up via Saylor's financial instruments, let's fucking go. I don't care, you know, and he gets rich off of it. I don't fucking care, you know, because if we're all playing, we're all on the same team. Like if you're on Bitcoin's team, like you're on Saylor's team. So like if he wins, I win, you know, so go for it, dude. Like, let's fucking go. Let's push it harder. So we'll see how it ends up.
Saylor's an interesting character. Elon's an interesting character. All this is just kind of happening, you know, coincidentally. Not too sure about that.
Look, there's so much. Here's another thing, man. The truth is always stranger than fiction, man. Like it's crazy. Like we are living in the craziest of times. I mean, I could write, you know, an infinite number of like fantasy movies, but they're actually real. Like we're living through fantasy land right now.
Oh yeah. So. No, 100%. And so, you know, now that like, you know, kind of back to this other, the Pizzagate stuff and the Epstein stuff is kind of like come true. Yeah. You know, that a lot of that started, of course, with QAnon, which if you ever went down the rabbit hole of Q and the conspiracies back then, did you ever go down that rabbit hole at all?
No, fill me in.
Okay, so
I wasn't a conspiracy theorist, like, and now I guess I am.
So we're going to Q peel you. So back in 2017, an anonymous person who they still haven't figured out who the identity is started posting content on 4chan and 8chan that was in kind of a Socratic method of like, hey, there's probably a satanic pedophile cult that's running the world through banks and politicians. Like in all the 4,000 drops, that's literally like the freaking, you know, TLDR on the whole thing.
Okay.
And you know, they were posting about Epstein, they were posting about Wexner, they were posting about Kova, they're, you know. But what I did was I basically, in essence, put like an orange lens across the drops because Q never mentions Bitcoin, never mentions crypto, nothing. You put an orange lens across the drops and you're like, wait a minute, this anonymous person basically came in to kind of decentralize information and put out all this conspiracy theories, you know, 10 years before it actually came true. And then you have this other anonymous person that created with perfect money, you know, that nobody's ever found out who that is either. Interesting.
Right.
And
so this was around what, 2015 or something, the Q?
2017 is when Q first dropped. And so what you find out is you kind of like, well, if this Q thing is real and the military is kind of working behind the scenes to arrest a lot of these people, like you'd have to have a perfect money, because if you wouldn't, like there wouldn't be a point to this entire operation without a perfect money, because the money printers would just eventually take over. And so now we've got Elon, golden age robots, probably hidden tech that's being released to help do with all this stuff, and we have Bitcoin and Sailor and all these other things happening at the same time. And I truly believe that you're correct that the merge of AI with Bitcoin is truly going to be the two things that excel our race forward into the the next millennia, because without it, I truly think we're doomed.
Agreed.
So, anyways, I'll give you more information on that. You can go down that rabbit hole a little bit later, because I've done a lot of interesting research in that realm. But I'll pull up a couple more things here just because I think it's interesting, and it kind of goes because there's a lot of I think some of the doomers out there, they're kind of like flat earthers, and they think space is fake and this is fake, and it's almost too much, But here you have these things flying around. We have Starlink, we have all this amazing technology, and they still think it's fake. It's just kind of wild to me,
Yeah, I guess my comment there is that the mind is such human mind is very malleable.
Yeah.
And, I was one of those people. I was one of those people that just was like, no, everything's good. That's none of that's all fake, and now I'm, again, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And now I'm like, yep, everything that the conspiracy that I guess I'm a conspiracy theorist, because it's it's a misnomer. We're truth seekers. We're not conspiracy theorists. We're truth seekers. And here's an example that I give people a lot about this to kind of just say, well, it's very hard to argue with this. Okay, so it's just take any small sort of social ecosystem, like a middle school, right? Take a middle school, and you got kids in the middle school. Take one class even in the middle school, and it's if those kids in that class, let's say there's 25 kids, there's going to be a bully. There's going to be someone who's lying. There's going to be someone spreading a rumor about some other kid in the class. That's just in that class. Okay. Now magnify that out to the entire world. Now layer on top of that power structures where obviously you're going to want to hide information if you're in a power position. And then just ask yourself, do you really think that what you hear on the news is the truth? Do you really think that the talking heads that are telling you how the system works is actually how the system works? There's just no chance. Logically, there's just no possible chance. There is some level of trickery, lies, deceit. And then once you start to just sort of peel back the onion layer after layer, you go, okay, it's not just 10% off or 15% off or 30% off or 50% off. It's 80 to 90% lies. And then once you get to that place, I don't know, call me a conspiracy theorist, call me whatever the fuck you want. But I'm searching for truth, and there is no truth in the information that's coming out from the power structures top down. It's just not.
And it's just going to get worse with AI. You're going to be so inundated with just emails and phone calls and junk.
I'm working on that. I'm working on that. You heard it here first. I'm going to make some announcements soon. I'm working on a really cool project with someone I've known for 10 years. I think it's $1 trillion. I think it's $1 trillion opportunity, and it's going to be the problem of our days. What is real? What is not? How do we validate humanity? How do we figure out what the fuck we actually are and what we're doing? Because it's going to get very tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's ways to expand, proof of work, i.e. the Bitcoin network, via probably tokenization or something, to where you can have the anchor of Bitcoin, but you can scale it to other layers that still provides an individual with the proof of real, right? Proof of authenticity, because that's going to be in short supply, I think, when the Bitcoin network can expand beyond, the layer one can't really help everybody, we're going to have to expand this thing.
Yeah, to preserve humanity, we have to be able to track humanity. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I think we can use Bitcoin as the base layer for a lot of this stuff, but we can, it is a slippery slope. Like you said, we have to fight, we have to be prepared, and we have to show others how to win this battle, because we're still very much in the thick of it, to get to the other side.
100%.
Let's see here. Okay. So I kind of want to play this clip from Elon because it kind of talks about, I think, some of the stuff you're talking about. Let's just listen to it real quick.
Cool.
I call AI and robotics the supersonic tsunami.
Yes.
Which maybe is a little alarming.
I think it's good. It's good. Well, because the world needs a wake-up call. Right? Yeah. This is important for folks to grok, because I don't want to leave people depressed. I want people to understand what's coming. So we're basically demonetizing everything. I mean, labor becomes the cost of CapEx and electricity. AI is basically intelligence available at a de minimis price. So you're able to produce almost anything. Things get down to basic costs of materials and electricity, right? So people can have whatever stuff they want, whatever services they need.
Yes.
It's not, when we say universal high income, it sounds like it's a tax and redistribute, but that's not the case.
I think my best guess for how this will manifest is that prices will drop.
Yeah.
So as the efficiency of production or the provision of services drops, prices will drop. I mean, prices in dollar terms are the ratio between the output of goods and services and the money supply.
Sure.
So if your output of goods and services increases faster than the money supply, you will have deflation, or vice versa. So
it's a good thing we're growing the money supply so quickly, then.
Right. Exactly. Yes. That's why I can't let's not worry about growing the money supply. It won't matter, because the output of goods and services actually will grow faster than the money supply. And I think we'll be in this, and this is a prediction I think some others have made, but I will add to it, which is that I think governments will actually be pushing to increase money supply, like
faster.
Yes, they won't be able to waste the money fast enough, which is saying something for
But
government.
isn't it crazy how close those timelines just randomly worked out? I mean, at the rate, because we're expanding the national debt, not because we're anticipating AI. We were going to do that no matter what.
Yes.
And so it's like right on the edge of becoming Argentina.
But yeah, it's
right
just,
at the time that AI
the productivity is going to improve dramatically, and it is improving dramatically. I think we'll see. I think we may see high double-digit output of goods and services. We have to be a little careful about how economists measure things.
Yes,
GDP sucks isn't measured.
And
anyway, so that's just, I think, an interesting conversation, because all the things you're talking about is what's happening. And so, what would you say to audience people on how to prepare for this future of Bitcoin and AI? But maybe they've got Bitcoin, but you've got a lot of people here that are completely unprepared for AI. I assume you've probably been playing with that tech for a while as well. I'm still kind of relatively new to it. I'm still playing with it. What is kind of your advice to people as an entrepreneur in the tech industry for such a long time to do in this scary new world? Because AI could literally eliminate 50% of the jobs in the next 5 years, right? If not more.
So again, I'll have more on this in a few weeks. I'm working on this problem with someone who I admire and trust, who I've known for a long time, and I think that he is onto something here that's going to help that situation quite a bit. But if I don't do it, if he doesn't do it, someone else is going to do it. I have all the faith in the world in humanity, especially entrepreneurial humans, curious humans. We always figure it out, so there's people like me and many others just constantly working on this. I will say, just back to the clip real quick, I am 100% aligned with everything they just said. I think that was Peter Diamandis and I don't know who the other person was, and Elon. I'm a huge fan of Elon, have been for pretty much my entire life. People have many varying opinions about him. I've been steadfast in my support for Elon. I think he's brilliant. And I think everything he just said in that clip was absolutely spot on. You know, they're going to continue to print, and we now have this like productivity engine called AI that's going to actually combat that, right? And
yeah,
so,
that was interesting to me. Like,
yeah,
the government's going to have to print more money faster because they can't let deflation happen.
It's a very interesting premise because you start to realize, and I think that this is exactly how it's going to play out. You're just going to see more and more devaluing of the dollar, and you're just going to see like, you know, so like prices would increase in that scenario, but then you're going to have this competing force, which is AI, which is doing everything faster and better and stuff. So then that's going to combat the prices. So we might reach some kind of weird, like fucked up equilibrium of these forces. But, you know, if you study economics and you understand it to the level that like Jeff Booth, or like, you know, I often mention Adam Smith, and Adam Smith was the great thinker who wrote Wealth of Nations, and he talks about the invisible hand. And the invisible hand is this concept of economics where it's this laissez-faire hand. You know, you don't mess with prices, and a true free market will actually cause the prices to decrease basically into infinity. I could give some examples for why, but I'll leave it at that for now. You can look it up, The Invisible Hand by Adam Smith. Look up that concept, just grok it, and it'll give you it's also in my book. But basically, like, the natural form of a market, the natural forces are deflationary. And like, people just can't wrap their heads around that because we've had this inflationary system where we're like arbitrarily printing money and stuff. So people are just like, yeah, stuff gets more expensive. Like, prices go up. That's just how it works. That's actually engineered. That's engineered by our debt-based Ponzi scheme system to keep us, you know, locked away, paying and enslaved, all this stuff. This, you know, we call it, you know, debt slavery, right? So here we are. We're at a fork in the road, or kind of like an inflection point where, you know, Elon's going to be pumping out robots and AI, and these robots are kind of they don't sleep, you know, they don't need to go to the bathroom. Like, we've got these like autonomous agentic AI now talking to each other. So you just imagine a world where like pretty quickly we get to a place where like nobody has to do anything. Like, the robots are just building, they're building the homes, they're making the food, you know, they're delivering the food to us. Like, we just sit there and eat, you know? And so what's going to happen to the prices? It's going to be really interesting, but I do believe what they just said is true. Again, the difficult thing for anybody to figure out is the time frame. How long does this last? How long does it take to get there? How long do we sit in that phase before we move on to the next phase? But there's definitely going to be this period where we're just like printing dollars, you know, like crazy. And then the AI is like making stuff cheaper at the same time. But I do see a world, like, I subscribe to Jeff Booth's theories about just sort of deflation, you know, to zero. Like, this is just going to bring us down to cost of goods. Like Elon said, everything's just going to.
Yeah, it almost seems like Elon is a Jeff Booth fan there, huh?
I think Elon does not, you know, he understands this stuff on a much deeper level than he lets off. Like, he purposefully doesn't talk about Bitcoin. He purposefully just drops little nuggets, but he knows exactly what's happening. He knows that he knows Bitcoin's energy units. I'm curious to see what he does with XMoney. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a Bitcoin option, so we'll see. If not at the beginning, it'll roll out. And, you know, you asked the question, like, what should people do? I have very, very specific advice. Be extremely curious about AI. Use it as much as you possibly can. And take a hell of a lot of deep breaths. Because it's so overwhelming. We're moving faster than humans were meant to move. We're not meant to do this. Like, we are not engineered to be thinking this fast, to be operating this fast. So like, if you are listening to this and you feel overwhelmed, like you can't breathe, I'm right there with you. Okay. I'm not going to lie. I'm right there with you. I am freaked the fuck out. But the best way to deal with fear, I've learned this, is to dive into it with all the faith in the world. Like if you're staring at a fire, the way to get through that fire is not to slowly, cautiously walk through it. You're going to get burned. You jump through that fire and you have faith that you're going to land on the other side and you're going to be totally fine. So the people that are going to lose, the people that are going to have a problem, GMoney, are the people that are too scared to jump into that fire because they think they're going to die, and they're going to die sitting on the other side, just slowly burning to death while people like you and me jump through the fire, get to the other side. So don't be scared of it. Just like go for it. This is not going away. There is no possible way to put this back in the box. It's out of the box. I don't care what regulatory body is going to say, no, we're going to shut it down. No, it's out. It is open source. This is tech. This is a protocol. Both Bitcoin and AI are the two most life-changing protocols. That's why my book, Life After Bitcoin, this is a once in a species moment. So don't fade on it, jump through it, and just do, practice meditation, man. Take some deep breaths.
Learn how to astral project like Jesse, guys. Come on.
Good luck.
No, man, this has been awesome. And that's great advice, guys. Like, honestly, you should be doing that. And like, it's easier than ever. You pick up your phone and you can do all of it on your phone anyway. One last thing we always do too, though, is we always pick a Pepe of the week. Not sure if you're familiar with rare Pepes. These are Bitcoin NFTs that were put out back in 2016. So I selected Futures Pepe for you as a Pepe in the future. Kind of reminds me of, I think it's Idiocracy, right? Where he's kind of sitting on his toilet almost. Trade this Pepe for $250,000 in the year 2030. And it's kind of a guy like in space, in a spacecraft with like Pepe folders all over the wall. This one is made by Meme Conscious, Series 14, card 45, 100 of these. And this one goes for about 12 grand. This is not a cheap card. It's pretty rare.
So
and
wait, this is your NFT collection, or
no. So this is where you're gonna get into the rabbit hole with some of this stuff. So back in 2014, what happened was Vitalik. This is back in the original Op Return Wars. It's not this Nazi stuff we got going on now. So back then, Vitalik wanted to create smart contracts on Bitcoin, but there was a whole thing with Core where they didn't want to allow Op Return to be over a certain number of bytes, and that's what made him create Ethereum, basically. And then what happened was once he did that, a bunch of Bitcoin guys just copied the Ethereum smart contract code and put it on Bitcoin and called it Counterparty, which is a second layer basically on Op Return. Now, here's the unique thing about this protocol. It's the only protocol out there that has this unique quality of proof of burn. What it means is that the tokens that were created for this third-party protocol, there is a token with it, but the only way the token was created is if you burned Bitcoin to a provably unspendable Bitcoin address.
Cool.
Okay, so it only lasted for the only burn period was only like 3 months, I think, and so over 2,000 Bitcoin were burned. That created this manifestation of, a transformation of Bitcoin, in essence. And so these tokens have been around.
So these are echoes of Bitcoin in art form.
Yes, exactly. Right, which is a whole new weird concept to talk about itself, because what is that? Technically it's Bitcoin, but it's in a different form. And so anyway, there's some other rabbit holes with this stuff, but we believe tokenization is how you can scale Bitcoin, because it is using layer 2. It's not using it's not all done on mainnet. And interesting enough, Jesse, the Samurai guys created a token on Counterparty as well. And they created it because these tokens are like ownership. And so Samurai Wallet, right? Like the token they created was called Samurai. It was on block 369-150. They created 100,000 of these, and you actually owned ownership in Samurai.
I did not know this. This is
it's fascinating. Yeah, and I never got to interview Keone because he was obviously being, pretty. Everybody wanted to interview him. He didn't get to me. I understand he had spent time with his family. But it's an interesting concept because I truly believe that this is the canary in the coal mine that everybody's been ignoring. That's going to be huge for DeFi on Bitcoin in the future. So I'll send you some more research on it, but it's pretty interesting.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, this is real. I would love to learn more about this. Let's do something with Keone when he's out. Not if he gets out,
obviously.
but when he gets
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
I talked to him on the jail email correspondence. So if you ever want me to pass anything to him, and we can start planning today if you want, because I'm sure he'd love to talk to you. But he's in jail right now.
Is there any updates? I know Trump is aware of it. He did talk about it.
I think we're going to have a nice wave of momentum with the conference circuit, because I know. So I talked to Lauren, his wife, quite a bit, and there's other people behind the scenes. There's sort of a group of us that are working on things. Probably other people that I don't even know are working on things, but I know that Lauren's going to be. She's already been doing things. She's doing some women in Bitcoin, some stuff with the women in the industry. She's going to be at Bitcoin Vegas, the conference in Vegas, which I may or may not be at. And then we're both going to be at BTC Prague on the main stage talking about Samurai. So I think like over the next, that's like BTC Vegas is, I think, April. Then you have BTC Prague is June. So I think coming in spring and summer, we'll be through the midterms. There's a possibility something happens with the midterms. It's like Donald Trump, our president, said Keone's name. The president says the name of the person we're trying to get out. Like, it's on the radar. So I'm still maintaining a strong sort of position on like our ability to get him out sooner rather than later. But obviously, there's no way of really knowing. But we'll keep pushing as hard as we can, and I think you'll start to see a little bit of an upswing soon. But I wanted to go back to what you just showed me there, because, I write about this in my book as well, about like, how do we maintain Bitcoin and keep Bitcoin as a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, right? Which is, that's the intention, right? And now we know that Satoshi was creating energy money, and that's what this thing is supposed to be. But I think Satoshi probably knew that he or they were creating a protocol. This is a protocol technology. And so protocols are open, meaning they're like frameworks, they're sort of just the plumbing or the infrastructure. And then you can build things on top of that infrastructure. And, I think the Knots core debate has kind of been a distraction, and it's not the proper way to be thinking about this. I think we need to start thinking about side chains. We need to start thinking about the way, Lightning works, and start figuring out ways to basically have like a track back to the main chain, but just leave the main chain pristine. And that's my position I take in my book. I'm glad to hear that you kind of agree with that sentiment. I think it's a topic that we really need to probably talk about more, because to me, that's the clear solution here. And I don't see any problem with it. It solves both problems. It opens the floodgates for us to do whatever the hell we want, maintains the main chain and the pristine, we can keep the same file size and everything, and it should work just fine. So we already have Lightning to prove it. I hadn't heard about this, but the idea of burning some tokens, burning some sats, burning some Bitcoin to then tie it to the chain, that is a phenomenal approach to allow something else to then have that provenance, but not fuck up what's going on in the core blocks. So
well, I mean, it does operate through op return, but so that's a debate. But we also believe Bitcoin is anti-fragile, and the incentives itself is a cyber defense weapon, so that it defends itself no matter what spam is on there or whatever. We truly believe that his history will be recorded on, probably main chain at some point in certain aspects of it. And we truly believe in, it being a, an unfuckwithable database as well as money, right? We get to pick out whatever we want because we think it does protect itself. And so it's an interesting debate for sure, but we can definitely talk more about this some other time, or I'll send you more information. But, there is some interesting facts that lead back to scaling this on second layers, with it anchored being to layer one through op return, obviously. And so, anyways, an interesting thing. Super fun having you on today, brother. We appreciate you. We appreciate all that you've done for Keone. I do have the token on this platform as well called Free Samurai. So if they're interested, I would be happy to help raise funds for Keone. That is purely transparent. in a roundabout way. Instead of give, send, go, it would purely be in Bitcoin, to where this transaction through these smart contracts are Bitcoin only. And so if he's interested, or if the wife is interested, I'd be happy to help put something together to, create this token in their name to make sure that they got all the funds. I did it for the Bitcoin Truckers for Canada. I did it for Hodl-O-Not when he was going through his thing. So I've raised money for different people with these different tokens that are a roundabout way, because they're immutable. Like, nobody can shut me down because it's in cyberspace, and everybody who donated has actual authentic proof that they were part of it and donated, which is unique itself. So anyway, lots of other stuff we could do.
Super interesting. Yeah, let's talk offline on this, and then we can get connected to Lauren and see where it goes. But I love it, man. I love all the creative ideas, and that's honestly my favorite part of this industry is just all the remarkable minds, that are just on it and just sort of thinking of cool ideas like that. So thanks for bringing it up.
Absolutely, brother. Well, Shadalay to you. Keep up the good fight, and we will stay in touch. And and so where will you be at next? So you can let everybody know.
So far, I just kind of have Bitcoin Prague is the main one. I'm not doing a lot of traveling right now. I may or may not be at the Vegas conference, and I'll probably be back in El Salvador sooner rather than later. There's a lot of cool stuff happening there with Nayib Bukele and Max Kaiser and Stacey Herbert and the group out there. So those are some of my hot spots. But yeah, you can always catch me on X online. That's my digital home. I don't really mess around with the other platforms. So yeah, please just find me on X, and I love to hear from folks.
And then when is your book coming out, Life After Bitcoin?
So I am coordinating with BTC Prague on this. And so I'm pretty sure I'm going to coordinate it sort of around that. So it's likely going to come out maybe a month before the conference. So probably sometime early summer, maybe May. The Bitcoin Prague is, I think, June 11th. And then I'll probably be doing book signings and hard copies and stuff like that at the conference. So come to BTC Prague.
Awesome. We'll hope to see you in Vegas. If you make it out there, I'll be out there on a panel.
Okay.
And we will catch up with you in cyberspace, amigo.
Cheers, brother. Thanks.
Shadalay, man. Take care. Okay. Bye. All right, guys. We have Conscious Strength. Maha yourself with supplements that don't suck from Conscious Strength. Founded by Badlands' very own Jordan Sather in 2019, Conscious Strength products are made in America and won't break your bank, unlike other brands. Their lineup includes collagen for strengthening joints and hair, electrolytes to get rid of those cramps, greens powder that tastes good and mixes easy, Shilajit gummies, methylene blue, zeolite, and more. Flip the finger to pharma, be your own doctor, and get supplements that you can trust from Conscious Strength. Go to badlandsmedia.tv/strength to shop now. One more time, that's badlandsmedia.tv/strength. All right, so go check that out. And let's get into some of the clown news of the week. Lots of clown news out there, obviously. We've got new FBI documents that the hard drive from the jail system the night Epstein died was removed. I love it. They're just cranking all these ops up to 11 to let's see how many people we can piss off in this entire thing. Can we piss off some more people? Are they going to actually do something about it? Anyways, we have Dr. Jack Cruz taking the black pill where he's promoting violence. Okay. And so they're talking about Article 2 of the Bill of Rights. And I'm like, yo, Jack, maybe you don't understand soft war. I do, but it protects the criminals he works for. Not even understanding what he's saying there. Someone just sent Satoshi, the creator of Bitcoin, 2.56 Bitcoin. He holds nearly 1.1 million Bitcoins right now. So somebody said him 256. Someone might say that's 1111. Was that on 211? It may be. Yeah, 2 days ago. We'll see. Let's see. Another legend, Nick Carter, getting wrecked. Talking about quantum. Adam Beck dunking on Nick Carter. And then, of course, Nick Carter talking about the Epstein thing. Bitcoiners fighting with Bitcoiners, Q-tards fighting with Q-tards. It goes on and on and on. We had Safety and Moose basically calling out Christianity, saying evangelical Christianity is a primitive, barbaric human sacrifice death cult whose only doctrine and ritual is the mass murder of Middle Eastern children to appease Satan, so he brings about the rapture. Look, guys, Safety's right. Modern day Christians are basically tax-paying pedophilia cucks. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you Christians are doing the bidding of genocidal maniacs that are Zionists, and you guys need a deep cleansing. 95% of the Christian mainstream apparatuses in the entire world are corrupt. That's just a fact, a total fact. And if you can't recognize that, then you are absolutely blind. Elon. So the Irish will become a minority in Ireland because Irishmen are afraid of being called racist and upsetting people in the third world. And Elon says, such men are pathetic traitors. And of course, this is a quote from Jason Laurie, domestication itself is a form of attack against human society. Remove society's capacity and implication to impose severe physical costs on other humans, and that will have a direct and measurable effect on their ability to survive. And so it's kind of like the Christians. They don't want to call out their pastors. The pastors won't call out the government because they're all taking the 501c3 handouts. And so, it's the same thing. Christians are some of the most domesticated people in this country. What do we have? We got Tone Vase dunking on the Bitcoin maxis, which is amazing because Tone is dunking on the BIP 110 folks. Never expected the final boss to be Bitcoin maxis. Expected a fascist combination of government plus big tech plus big banks, but they capitulated and started buying Bitcoin. So now we have a small mob of misguided Bitcoiners who think they can change consensus rules and fork the code whenever they are unhappy in life, as they always need an enemy to fight. Never thought it would get this retarded. And of course, I commented, said, let's face it, most Bitcoiners are vaxxed normie status that cuck to any form of abstract power and will virtue signal to anything for their love of money. Absolutely true. Guys, this product from Strategy, STRC, okay, they bought over 1,500 Bitcoin in 2 days from STRC alone. That's top 40 ranked for all Bitcoin companies on its own. Okay, so STRC is a dividend product. It's an income product where you get I think 11% back a year paid quarterly, and you get potential upside to the price of Bitcoin. Maybe that's not totally correct, but anyways, when the price of STRC is over 100, Saylor uses that extra money to hit the ATM and buy more Bitcoin. And since the price is over 100, he keeps buying more Bitcoin. He's bought 1,500 coins in 2 days. Absolutely incredible. What else did we have? We had a Rare Pepe sale.
NFT just sold for $54,000. You might be sat there wondering why. Potentially a whole bunch of you are Bitcoiners thinking NFTs are a bunch of bullshit. First, the receipts on Etherscan, 54,218. You would have heard of this collection online. It's called Rare Pepes. This is not even the highest sale of this card. A whole bunch of you out there might be wondering why someone would pay that amount for a card that's digital. The reason is provenance. This is one of the first ever digital collectibles on the blockchain. It happens to be on Counterparty, which is a layer 2 on Bitcoin. What people don't realize is there is actually an NFT antiquities market of some of these early assets. And as you can see, in 2016, there were only 10 digital collectibles. Our card from earlier features Dorian Nakamoto, who mistakenly was misidentified for Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin. The meme value of the card is absolutely hilarious, but it also captures culture as being one of the first ever memes on the internet. Through NFT technology, you can now own these assets as digital collectibles.
Pepe's, when will everybody else figure it out? Okay, there was a super interesting article on Zero Hedge. I want you guys to go read it. It's called Bitcoin and the Human Problem. And it talks about why certainty breaks us before price does. I want you to listen carefully, okay? Because during this current downturn of it being down 50%, it naturally messes with our instincts, our survival instincts. Okay, so I want you to hear this here when I read some of this. Bitcoin is down more than 50% from its high, and the fact alone is not even the bad news. Historically, it gets worse. 70% drawdowns, 80%. This is not an anomaly. It is the pattern. The real question, however, is not why Bitcoin does this, but why we keep pretending that this time will be different for us. Every cycle, people search for external expectations, leverage, regulation, China, quantum. The excuse does not matter. What matters is that the moment the price falls hard enough, belief collapses. Not because the thesis has changed, but because the human brain cannot tolerate certainty paired with delayed reward under stress. When the future is clear but distant, and the present is painful, we choose relief now over reward later, always. Okay, and this is super interesting, right? Because this is where monetary ideology dies and psychology takes over. Under threat, we rewrite reality to avoid pain. We call it cognitive dissonance if we want to sound clever, but it is really just survival instinct. Beliefs are luxuries. When belief becomes dangerous, it is abandoned instantly. Peter denies Jesus the moment belief threatens his safety. Bitcoin does the same thing to its disciples. The king of hard money is worshipped right up until holding him becomes intolerable. Bitcoin's fatal flaw, if it has one, is not technological. It is revelatory. It shows you the future too early and too clearly. $1 million per coin is not a vague hope. It is a vivid image. Our brains are not designed to hold that vision steady through violent volatility. We are not wired to lose money while knowing this with the unbearable clarity that patience would eventually make us rich. That contradiction fries the nervous system. And it's just, and this is why we're going to be replaced by machines, not because they are smarter, but because they can tolerate certainty without emotion. And so anyways, this is super interesting because I put this in a grok and I was like, I always think of Bitcoin as like this filter for humanity, right? And like the people that are getting filtered through this are like the people that are going to, basically run this new world in some sort of way. And I was like, if it's a survival instinct, like why is Bitcoin selecting people without survival instincts to like not sell their Bitcoin, even though it's like obviously painful, right? During these downturns. And Grok said something super interesting back where, Grok is like, look, Henry compares Bitcoin holders to Peter denying Jesus 3 times before the rooster crowed. Right when belief suddenly threatened personal safety, like loyalty evaporated. So Bitcoin does the same to disciples, right? So Bitcoin brutally exposes and filters human weakness. Most people will fold under the psychological pressure of drawdowns, regardless of how convinced they were when times were good. The crashes aren't bugs. They're the mechanism that reveals who can actually endure hardness, low time preference, conviction through pain, and who can't. In short, Bitcoin doesn't break because of external threats. It breaks most humans because we're wired for short-term survival, not long-term monetary discipline. The ones who pass the test are the exception, not the rule. So all my friends out there, you are the exception, not the rule. Congratulations. Super interesting to talk about that. What else we got? We have, of course, the strange signal happening. Some strange signal. So Max here talking about the holy dial tone I prophesied 30 years ago is upon us. We will see the face of God right as he hits the delete button. And this is from Autism Capital. How are you going to spend your last remaining months and years before the singularity? We're in the end game right now. How will you use your time? Okay. And so, like Jesse said, like General Quast always says, right? Be an aggressive learner. Be curious. Okay. That's why I have actually started doing some of my own AI stuff. And eventually, like, I'm going to try to have AI mimic an echo of myself, basically. I'm going to try to input as much stuff as I can to it and let it do its thing automatically. So it's going to be a work in progress, but I have created G Optimus. a digital echo of me. And so, I think you guys should all start preparing that too, right? Like, have some kind of an AI, start playing with it, start getting aggressive with it. I make content, I do stuff. We push digital 1776. I'm going to continually try to refine that message, and I'm going to use AI to do that. And so, however that turns out, it's going to turn out, but I'm going to make it kind of like an all-seeing, all-knowing GMoney out there that's just gathering information on how to interact with content, make better content, how to, refine the message, whatever it takes, so that my efforts can be, basically magnified. And so, anyways, Sailor spotted at a Trump party. Shocker, right? He's all kind of funny in the background. And again, we were talking about this earlier about the Pam Bondi thing, but this goes back to a Q drop. Sometimes you cannot tell people the truth. You must show them. Only then, at the precipice, will people find the will to change and participate. What else do we have? We had Elon talking about watts. There is unlimited demand for intelligence. True. Once the solar energy generation to robot manufacturing to chip fabrication to AI loop is closed, conventional currency will just get in the way. Just wattage and tonnage will matter, not dollars. Did you hear that? Elon also said, SpaceX will build a system that allows anyone to travel to the moon. So this will be insanely cool. And to Mars too. Sign me up. I'm ready to go. Mars will start in 5 or 6 years, so we'll be done in parallel with the moon, but the moon will be the initial focus. Okay. Love that. And then this was like a delta that happened the other day on February 11th, where Q comes in on February 11th, talks about timestamps, talks about truth to power, talks about John Perry Barlow. And, Bitcoin is not money. It's an electro cyber power projection system. Proof of work converts abstract truth, bits, a ledger, into physical power, watts, hashing. Proof of power equals irrefutable signal of truth. No watts, no enforcement, no security. Truth to power equals watts expended. Truth delivered to power. Anyways, love that. Rug pulls. Lots of rug pulls going on out there. It's come out that Trump, was calling the chief of police in Palm Beach on Jeffrey Epstein, and even called Ghislaine Maxwell an evil and Epstein's operative. So was Trump working behind the scenes as a whistleblower with the FBI to bring down this corrupt organization from a long time ago? Or is he a satanic pedophile, crazy guy that everybody's talking to him about? I don't know. Some of you guys might be wrong. Some of you black pillars, right? You might be wrong about Trump. Love that. The Netherlands, 36% unrealized gains just passed in the Dutch House of Representatives. Yeah, you gonna pay those taxes, guys? Huh? Gonna pay those unrealized taxes? That's theft. The U.S. Treasury just bought back $2 of its own debt. That's a snake eating its own tail. That's gonna work out great. The Super Bowl champ. Sam Darnold won the Super Bowl, but lost money due to the jock tax. So he won the Super Bowl, but he's going to owe some money back to California. Does that make any sense to anybody? Yeah, didn't think so. Safety going after magatards. Safety, dude, that's my job, bro. Stay in your lane, dog. I make fun of the magatards, not you. And come on my show. I've asked you like 4 times already, dude. It's about time. It's poetic justice that magatards are being programmed to vent their anger at Epstein by boycotting Bitcoin instead of demanding an investigation from President Pito. There it is. See, that's where it's like Safety is so close to Signal and he calls him President Pito. When you have just before where Trump was like calling the FBI on Epstein. Oh, it's a wild world. I tell you, it's wild out there. Bithumb distributed 620,000 Bitcoin that never existed. So how much paper Bitcoin's actually out there? They called it not a computer error, but a human. No, they said that it wasn't a human error. It was a computer error. Yeah. Okay. Drudge, the Zionist shitcoin for Bitcoin. Okay. Oh, I love this one. SBF coming out in support of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, please pardon SBF, okay? The Goyim are not learning. The Goyim are not angry enough, Mr. Trump. The Bitcoiners, the MAGA-tards, you need to trigger them, sir. Sir, they need this. They need this lesson in proof of stake. So please, sir, pardon SBF. I want to see the triggering across all social media for this event to happen. Please make it happen, sir. I think it'll accelerate the undomestication process for the Goyim. At least I hope so. What else? We had the House of Gold say the CIA is behind Bitcoin, and yada, yada, yada. I love this clip from this girl, though. So,
Goyim, rise, rise, Goyim, rise from your fat ass. Rise your fat ass, Goyim. Get your Goyim ass to the fucking gym, Goyim. Start working out, Goyim. Start making money, Goyim. Stop being a fucking puppet of the system, Goyim. Stop it, Goyim.
Classic. So this was interesting. So a state rep from North Carolina, not like congressman, but the state rep, is burning his IRS bill. Check this out.
From them than it is from Enron, a bankrupt energy corporation. That's all that entity is now and has been for over 7 years. It's a corrupt government that permits corrupt mailing through a corrupt banking system to continue. I welcome any foreign agent who's representing this banking system to come to my house and extract the tax from me in person. I also welcome Governor Sisolak to come back from wherever he may be and try and enforce mandates on me. When he insisted that we close down churches in Nevada, I built a church. Come, Governor Sisolak. This is my house. Let's discuss your mandates. I think I'm doing much better. I'm not an avatar, no mask, living, sentient being. I am a sovereign. I'm a living man. That represents a dead vessel. That is not me. That is not valid. This is what I think of their postage. If the governments of the bankrupt corporations of the United States, Inc., and the governments of Nevada that are still around and valid want to come and talk to me about their unconstitutional activities, come to my house. You know where I live. We can have a great discussion. I suspect not everybody will leave.
Guess he didn't know how to cut off the end of his own video. Funny stuff. Your daily reminder that you're paying taxes to child traffickers and terrorists.
You testified that about $1 trillion you think is lost in fraud every year. Where's this money going? I mean, we know where some of it's going in Minnesota. It went overseas. It went to Somalia. It went to NGO fronts. We know where it's gone in some other states. California gave away billions of dollars to a pro-Hamas NGO. But $1 trillion nationally, where's this money going to?
I appreciate that question because most people don't ask that question. It goes to terrorism. It goes to child trafficking. It goes to drugs. It goes to terrorism. And then it's used to purchase luxury items, cars, purses, homes. That's all funded by people like me that pay taxes.
So you're telling me that the electrician who goes to work every day and clocks in and works his butt off and tries to earn just enough to be able to, make his rent, maybe have a kid or two, put food on the table. His tax money is being used to buy other people luxury items, cars, yachts, whatever else, and is going to fund terrorism and child trafficking?
Yes, sir.
$1 trillion a year on this stuff?
$115 million an hour.
$115 million an hour. How do they get in their hands on it? What are we talking about here? Trends, national organizations, criminal networks? How do they get their hands on this money?
They take advantage of antiquated government systems and processes. They go into programs that they know elected and appointed officials won't touch, and they can steal at scale. And what happened really was during the pandemic, between the PPP loans and the unemployment insurance, they learned a really valuable lesson. Government never runs out of money, and the probability of getting caught is virtually zero. I have it at 0.1%.
There you go. We have Jim Brewer talking about taxes.
How do you stop this whole system? What drives it? Money. Don't pay taxes. Don't pay taxes. Watch how fast every politician be like, whoa. Why do we pay taxes? To send money to the I country? To send money to other countries? Why are we going to pay taxes? What can we do, Jim? What can we do? Stop paying taxes. They take our money, they laugh in your face, they give it to others, they create war, they create chaos. We're infiltrated. So we got to take care of one another. Forget your left, right. Forget your Republican, Democrat. Forget all that. Start taking care of one another and look at the real bad guys. The real bad guys are the ones causing all this.
Jim's right. Jim is absolutely right. This Trump Epstein rug is pretty funny, where Trump kind of denies the whole Epstein thing.
President, I know you've urged people to move on, but I'm curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled?
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. But I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say, let them have it.
That is so freaking funny. He's saying, why? There's nothing even interesting in the Epstein files. Like, there's nothing interesting that pedophile politicians are like trafficking kids. There's nothing. It's hilarious. Even Lutnick is like laughing in the background. And the funny thing is, like, we can't even verify any of it, you guys. Like, overall, the message, right? Like, we know some of it's true, whatever, but we can't verify any of the emails or know what was actually done. You know, the Q-tards are over here basically decoding words in the emails that think they have some secret decoder ring that they know what they were doing. In essence, they don't. They're still paying their taxes to pedophiles, still haven't found Bitcoin. But they're spending all their time decoding the Jeffrey Epstein emails. Talk about loss of signal. Major loss of signal. And so we have XMoney coming out very shortly on X.
For XMoney, we actually had XMoney live in closed beta within the company. And we expect in the next month or two to go to a limited external beta, and then to go worldwide to all X users. And this is really intended to be the place where all the money is, the central source of all monetary transactions. So it's really going to be a game changer.
And they've already got Bitcoin integrated, in case you guys did not know that. What else do we have here? We've got a couple outgoing clips. Here's some of those, and I guess we'll catch you later next week. Shade away.
we've been in recovery together for years.
You for almost over 40 years, right?
Yeah, 43 years.
Wow. That's wild. Yeah, that's where we met each other.
Yeah,
like 7 a.m. meetings above the bank over there. That was a good meeting.
They shut those down during COVID.
I know. That was heartbreaking. That was one of the most
We still did live meetings every day during COVID. We moved from the bank. There was about 15 of us who moved from the bank, and we got into the Palisades Playhouse, which now is burned down during the fire. But it was kind of a pirate group, and I mean, for me, I said this when we came in, and I said, I don't care what happens, I'm going to a meeting every day.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not scared of a germ. I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats. And I know this disease will kill me.
Right.
Like if I don't treat it, which means going to meetings every day, it's just bad for my life.
You talk about superintelligence. Most of your rivals talk about AGI, artificial general intelligence. Explain the difference between AGI and superintelligence.
I prefer the definition that focuses first on what would it take to build a system that could achieve most of the tasks that a regular professional in a workplace goes about on a daily basis. Think of it as a professional grade AGI.
How close are we?
I think that we're going to have a human level performance on most, if not all, professional tasks. So white collar work where you're sitting down at a computer, either being, a lawyer or an accountant or a project manager or a marketing person. Most of those tasks will be fully automated by an AI within the next 12 to 18 months. And we can see this in software engineering. Many software engineers report that they are now using AI-assisted coding for the vast majority of their code production, which means that their roles shifted now to this meta function of debugging, scrutinizing, of doing the strategic stuff like architecting, of, et cetera, putting things into production. So it's a quite different relationship to the technology. And that's happened in the last 6 months.
There was a study done by Princeton in 1988 where Princeton scientists ran 800 plus experiments where people tried to influence random number generators with their brains. Like they closed their eyes and they thought really hard to influence a random number generator with their brain. And statistically speaking, this is absolutely impossible. And the study showed that there was a legitimate impact, altercation on the people that closed their eyes and tried really hard to influence numbers a certain way, and the other side of the coin that simply just closed their eyes and waited for the numbers to generate. Okay, and what this means, chat, is that your mindset as we wake up every day and we approach these markets and we make trades and we think about what to bet on and we think about what to speculate on actually has an impact on how the market turns. Don't shoot the messenger. And by the way, I'm not even trolling. This is a real study. This actually happened. I'm not trolling. This actually happened in 1989. Okay, it actually happened. And I'm not being motivational. My Clawbot told me this. I'm not being motivational. The CIA literally proved that approaching the market with intention produces different results than approaching it scared. I'm just saying. So scientifically, the smartest researchers and scientists in the world told you by believing in something, the world is a better place, okay?
I want the United States to be first in technology, first in science, first in manufacturing, first in artificial intelligence, and first in space. At MIT, my uncle was a professor there, Dr. John Trump. He would have fit in with this room very nicely, actually. That's why I mention it. And I believe he was the longest serving professor in the history of MIT. He graduated. We have a very intelligent family, actually. He graduated tremendously. I think he has 3 different degrees, but they said, would you like to stay on, John, and be a professor? Well, I've got a lot of offers, I assume he said, but I've got a lot of offers. Well, he was there for, I believe, 41 years. When I was in the White House, the head of MIT came to see me, and they presented me with a book on my uncle. He was a legendary guy in the academic world and in the world of MIT. So I understand a lot about what you're doing, and I have great respect for highly intelligent people.
Those of you in this room inherit the legacy of generations of American pioneers and patriots, risk-takers and renegades who settled this continent, built the modern world, and lived on the bleeding edge. You live on a bleeding edge. You do know that, Bitcoiners, don't you? You are the modern-day Edisons and Wright brothers and Carnegies and Henry Fords, and what you do in your lifetime stands a chance to outlive us all and inspire humanity for generations to come. This will go down as a very important day in the history of your industry. Together you are building America's future with your own smarts, your own grit, and your own skin in the game. You have a lot of skin in the game, and that's what you're doing. It takes courage to do it. Most people don't have that courage. My job will be to set you free and to let you do what Americans do best and what you're going to do better than anybody. Win, win, win. You're going to win, win, win. With energy, passion, and brilliance like we have rarely seen before, our country cannot fail. We're in a failing nation right now, but we're not going to be for long. Our country cannot fail. With your help, we will save our nation, we will restore our republic, and we will make America and Bitcoin bigger, better, stronger, richer, freer, and greater than ever before. Thank you all. Have a good time with your Bitcoin and your crypto and everything else that you're playing with. And we're going to make that one of the greatest industries on earth. Good luck, and God bless you all. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
I don't know why everyone's freaking out about this Epstein stuff. Honestly, it's not a big deal. We got to remember what Saylor told us just before the files drop. We got to stop attacking our own if they're in Bitcoin. You know? And haven't we been telling ourselves that everything bad for Bitcoin is good for Bitcoin? Epstein is good for Bitcoin. Like, it's very clear at this point. He was blackmailing the global elite, politicians, heads of state, Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and all the rest. His enemies were our enemies. Epstein was one of us. The fact that he was connected to clandestine operations, CIA and Mossad, so what? You know what that means? It means the government isn't fighting us. They're on our side. We are on the government's side. We are on the CIA side. We've been blessed up. Omega Candle is right around the corner. I'm telling you, I'm round tripping this bear market. I'm not selling a set. I'm going to get rich. That's it. Thank you, Epstein. Thank you, Saylor. Thank you, everyone. Staying true to the vision. God bless.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.
Delay, my friends.
Because you're living an illusion. I can't wait till it hits you. Recollection, your misconception. Obsessed, you say the green is successful. Material gain causes serious stress. More love, because you're living an illusion. Wake up now, yes, you're living in confusion. You're not a scholar, you're a waste of a teacher. Preach the dollars, you're a waste of a preacher. Love, come on, that's what we need. More love, that's what we need to succeed. Not dollars, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve. More love, come on, succeed. Not dollars, nah, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve now. Yep, you gotta see clearer. Clear on up, stay up and stay clear of. Go back to basics, look in the mirror. You're in a dream, wake up and now gear up. Come on, love, continually loving, that's realer. Make up your mind and emerge as a leader. Now it connects many off, feed off. Rise up above, cause the youth stay feed off. Love, come on, that's what we need, more love. That's what we need to succeed. Not dollars, nah, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve more love. Come on, that's what we need, more love. That's what we need to succeed. Not dollars, nah, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve now. You gotta see clearer. Yep, you gotta see clearer. More love, come on, that's what we need. More love, that's what we need to succeed. Not dollars, nah, not what we need. Let's give them love so the youth can achieve now.